Tonight, we're going to go straight to the Word and talk about the book of Nahum. The book of Nahum. Now, this is a title that I could truly honestly say I've never seen this book in the Bible before. Many times I read it, it just seems so unfamiliar, this name to me. So I started reading it. The Burden of Nineveh. The book of the vision of Nahum the Elkoshite. God is jealous, and the Lord revengeth. The Lord revengeth and is furious, and the Lord will take vengeance on his adversaries. He reserveth wrath for his enemies. The Lord is slow to anger, and great in power, and will not at all acquit the wicked. The Lord hath his way in the whirlwind, and in the storm, and the clouds are the dust of his feet. And see, look at all the confirmation and revelation that we get just right here in the first paragraph of Nahum. Look at that. The Lord hath his way in the whirlwind, and in the storm, and the clouds are the dust of his feet. Now, I believe Nahum the Elkoshite is having a vision of America. That's my interpretation of this. So check it out. He rebuketh the sea, and maketh it dry, and drieth up all the rivers. Bashan languisheth, and Carmel and the flower of Lebanon languisheth. The mountains quake at him, and the hills melt, and the earth is burned at his presence. Yes, the world and all that dwell therein. Now, you know, my grandmama used to tell me about God, and she used to say in the last days when people try to run from God's wrath, that if you try to run to the mountains, my grandma said the mountains will pick itself up and get away from you in fear that God's gonna strike it too, trying to judge you. Now look at this. The mountains quake at him, and the hills melt, and the earth is burned at his presence. Yes, the world and all that dwell therein. Who can stand before his indignation? And who can abide in the fierceness of his anger? His fury is poured out like fire, and the rocks are thrown down by him. The Lord is good, a stronghold in the day of trouble, and he knoweth them that trust in him. Now, let's keep going here. Watch this. But with an overrunning flood, he will make an utter end of the place thereof, and darkness shall pursue his enemies. Now, let me pause right there. Now, you know, I'm not no Bible scholar or anything. I don't know what time frame they found the book of Nahum in, or what time frame it is. I'm going to study it a little more, so I don't want to be wrong. So if I say something that doesn't sound right, please comment, let me know what your thoughts are on this. But with an overrunning flood he will make an utter end of the place thereof, and darkness shall pursue his enemies. What do ye imagine against the Lord? He will make an utter end. Affliction shall not rise up the second time. Woo! For while they be folden together as thorns, and while they are drunken as drunkards, they shall be devoured as stubble, fully dry. There is one come out of thee that imagineth evil against the Lord, a wicked counselor. Thus saith the Lord, though they be quiet, and likewise many, yet thus shall they be cut down, and when he shall pass through. Though I have afflicted thee, I will afflict thee no more. For now will I break his yoke from off thee, and will burst thy bonds in sunder. And the Lord hath given a commandment concerning thee, that no more of thy name be sown. Out of the house of thy gods will I cut off the graven image and the molten image, and I will make thy grave, for thou art vile. And I will make thy grave, for thou art vile. Behold, upon the mountains the feet of him that bringeth good tidings, that publisheth peace. O Judah, keep thy solemn feast, perform thy vows, for the wicked shall no more pass through thee. He is utterly cut off. He that dasheth in pieces is come up before thy face. Keep the munition, watch the way, make thy loins strong, fortify the power mightily. For the Lord hath turned away the excellency of Jacob, and the excellency of Israel. For the emptiers have emptied them out, and marred their vine branches. The shield of his mighty men is made red. The valiant men are in scarlet. The chariots shall be with flaming torches in the day of his preparation, and the fir trees shall be terribly shaken. The noise of a whip, and the noise of the rattling of the wheels, and of the prancing horses, and of the jumping chariots. The horseman lifteth up both the bright sword and the glittering spear, and there is a multitude of slain. What I tell y'all is about them 4 horsemen dream I had when they took her off down the street. The horseman lifted up both the bright sword and the glittering spear, and there is a multitude of slain, and a great number of carcasses, and there is none end of their corpses. They stumble upon their corpses, because of the multitude of the whoredoms of the well-favored harlot. Now, here we go where we're talking about the harlot again, and it's talking about, some people say the Statue of Liberty is symbolic for the United States, symbolic for the harlot, because of the multitude of the whoredoms of the well-favored harlot, the mistress of witchcrafts, that selleth nations through her whoredoms, and families through her witchcrafts. Behold, I am against thee, saith the Lord of hosts, and I will discover thy skirts upon thy face, and I will shew the nations thy nakedness, and the kingdoms thy shame. And I will cast abominable filth upon thee, and make thee vile, and I will set thee as a gazing stock. And it shall come to pass, that all they that look upon thee shall flee from thee, and say, Nineveh is laid waste. Who will bemoan her? When shall I seek comforters for thee? Art thou better than Populus? No. That was situate among the rivers, that had the waters round about it, whose rampart was the sea, and her wall was from the sea. Ethiopia and Egypt were her strength, and it was infinite. Put and Lubim were thy helpers. Vladimir Putin? Nah, just kidding, y'all. Put and Lubim were thy helpers. Yet was she carried away. She went into captivity. Her young children also were dashed in pieces at the top of all the streets, and they cast lots for her honorable men, and all her great men were bound in chains. Thou also shalt be drunken, thou shalt be hid, thou also shalt seek strength because of the enemy. All thy strongholds shall be like fig trees with the first stripe figs. If they be shaken, they shall even fall into the mouth of the eater. Wow, that's a cold verse right there. And not only if will the fig tree drop his figs untimely, but they'll drop right in the mouth of the eater, straight off the tree. Woo! Behold, thy people in the midst of thee are women. Behold, thy people in the midst of thee are women. The gates of thy land shall be set wide open unto thy enemies. The fire shall devour the bars. Draw thee waters for the siege. Fortify the strongholds. Look what God's saying. Do whatever you want. You could build your underground bunkers and your escape the end of the world bunkers, but it ain't gonna do you no good. Ain't no one gonna be able to hide. Behold, thy people in the midst of thee are women. The gates of thy land shall be set wide open unto thine enemies. The fire shall devour thy bars. Draw thee waters for the siege. Fortify the strongholds. Go into clay and tread the mortar. Make strong the brick hill. There shall the fire devour thee. The sword shall cut thee off. It shall eat thee up like the cankerworm. Make thyself many as the cankerworm. Make thyself many as the locusts. Ah, Lord. Thou hast multiplied thy merchants above the stars of heaven. The cankerworm spoileth and flieth away. Thy crown are as the locust, and thy captains as the great grasshoppers, which camp in the hedges in the cold day. But when the sun ariseth, they flee away from their places, not known where they are. Thy shepherds slumber, O king of Assyria. Thy nobles shall dwell in the dust. thy people is scattered upon the mountains, and no man gathereth them. There is no healing of thy gathereth them. There is no healing of thy bruise. Thy wound is grievous. All that hear the bruit of thee shall clap the hands over thee. For upon whom hath not thy wickedness passed continually? Woo! Yeah, so I just wanted to go through that chapter which of Nam. I think that's how you pronounce it too. Nam. But it's crazy because right after Nam is Habakkuk. Now Habakkuk, he was another prophet, a guy that had visions and stuff. And I just wanted to show you one thing right here, and this kind of pertains to everybody that God shows visions to, and everybody that even if you don't get visions, this is just good information to know. Check this out. We're going to go to chapter 2 of Habakkuk. I will stand upon my watch and set me upon thy tower, and will watch to see what he will say unto me, and what I shall answer when I am reproved. He said, I'm going to stand on my watch and set me upon the tower, and will watch to see what he will say unto me, and what I shall answer when I am reproved. You know what I mean? And the Lord answered me and said, write the vision and make it plain upon tables. Yeah, that's what it said. I just read it in another verse where it said tablets. And the Lord answered me and said, write the vision and make it plain upon tables or tablets, that he may run that readeth it. Write down your vision and let it be known exactly how you see it, so that when people hear it, they will run when they read it. For the vision is yet for an appointed time, but at the end it shall speak and not lie. Though it tarry, wait for it, because it will surely come. It will not tarry. You hear that, y'all? This is a promise to all the visionaries out there of God. For the vision is yet for an appointed time, but at the end it shall speak and not lie. Though it tarry, wait for it, because it will surely come. It will not tarry. So, y'all, whoever is out there making videos about your visions, if you really, truly believe that the Lord showed it to you, wait for it. It will surely come. God didn't show it to you for nothing. Behold, his soul which is lifted up is not upright in him, but the just shall live by his faith. Yeah, also because he transgresseth by wine. He is a proud man, neither keepeth at home, who enlargeth his desire as hell, and is as death, and cannot be satisfied, but gathereth unto him all nations, and heapeth unto him all people. Shall not all these take up a parable against him, and a taunting proverb against him, and say, woe to him that increaseth that which is not his? How long? And to him that ladeth himself with thick clay, shall they not rise up suddenly that shall bite thee, and awake that shall vex thee, and thou shalt beat booties unto them? because thou hast spoiled many nations. All the remnants of the people shall spoil thee, because of men's blood, and for the violence of the land, of the city, and of all that dwell therein. Woe to him that coveteth an evil covetousness to his house, that he may set his nest on high, that he may be delivered from the power of evil. Thou hast consulted shame to thy house by cutting off many people, and hast sinned against thy soul. For the stone shall cry out of the wall, and the beam out of the timber shall answer it. Woe to him that buildeth a town with blood, and establisheth a city by iniquity. Behold, it is not of the Lord of hosts that the people shall labor in the very fire, and the people shall be weary themselves for very vanity. So kind of how I'm taking that here is God doesn't want you to be in a place that you know he's gonna burn. Behold, it is not of the Lord of hosts that the people shall labor in the very fire, and the people shall weary themselves for very vanity. For the earth shall be filled with the Lord's knowledge of the glory of the Lord, as the waters cover the sea. Woe unto him that giveth his neighbor drink, that puttest thy bottle to him, and makest him drunken also, that thou mayest look on their nakedness. Thou art filled with shame for glory. Drink thou also, and let thy foreskin be uncovered. The cup of the Lord's right hand shall be turned unto thee, and shameful spewing shall be on thy glory. For the violence of Lebanon shall cover thee, and the spoil of beasts, which made them afraid, because of men's blood, and for the violence of the land, of the city, and all that dwell therein. What profiteth the graven image, that the maker thereof hath graven it, the molten image, and a teacher of lies, that the maker of his work trusteth therein, to make dumb idols? Woe unto him that saith to the wood, Awake! To the dumb stone, Arise! It shall teach. Behold, it is laid over with gold and silver, and there is no breath at all in the midst of it. But the Lord is in his holy temple. Let all the earth keep silence before him. Now check out this prayer. O Lord, I have heard thy speech, and was afraid, O Lord. Revive thy work in the midst of the years. In the midst of the years make known. In wrath remember mercy. God came from Teman, and the Holy One from Mount Paran, Selah. His glory covered the heavens, and the earth was full of praise, and his brightness was as the light. He had horns coming out of his hand, and there was the hiding of his power. Let's see, God came from Teman, and the Holy One from Mount Paran, Selah. His glory covered the heavens, and the earth was full of praise, and his brightness was as the light. He had horns coming out of his hand, and there was the hiding of his power. Now, I don't know if it's talking about this is God. God came from Teman, and the Holy One from Mount Paran, Selah. His glory covered the heavens, and the earth was full of praise. Now that's for God, right? And his brightness was as the light. But when he starts saying he here, I don't see his capitalized his or he. I wonder, does that make a big difference, or is it talking about the Antichrist? And his brightness was as the light. He had horns coming out of his hand, and there was the hiding of his power. And check this out, let's get deep. Before him went the pestilence, and burning coals went forth at his feet. He stood and measured the earth. He beheld and drove asunder the nations, and the everlasting mountains were scattered. The perpetual hills did bow. His ways are everlasting. I saw the tents of Cushan in affliction, and the curtains of the land of Midian did tremble. Was the Lord displeased against the rivers? Was thy anger against the rivers? Was thy wrath against the sea? That thou did ride upon thine horses and thy chariots of salvation? There goes those horses again, and them chariots. Thy bow was made quite naked, and according to the oaths of the tribes, even thy word, Selah. Thou didst cleave the earth with rivers. The mountains saw thee, and they trembled. The overflowing of the water passed by. The deep uttered his voice, and lifted up his hands on high. The sun and moon stood still in their habitation. The sun and moon stood still in their habitation, and the light of thine arrows they went. And at the shining of thy glittering spear, thou did march through the land in indignation. Thou did thresh the heathen in anger. Thou wentest forth for the salvation of thy people, even for salvation with thine anointed. Thou woundedest the head out of the house of the wicked, by discovering the foundation unto the neck. Selah. Thou didst strike through with his staves the head of his villages. They came out as a whirlwind to scatter me. Their rejoicing was as to devour the poor secretly. Thou did walk through the sea with thine horses, through the heap of great waters. When I heard, my belly trembled, my lips quivered at the voice. Rottenness entered into my bones, and I trembled in myself, that I might rest in the day of trouble. When he cometh up unto the people, he will invade them with his troops. Y'all hear that? If you heard it, did your belly tremble? Mine did. When I heard, my belly trembled, my lips quivered at the voice. Rottenness entered into my bones, and I trembled in myself, that I might rest in the day of trouble. When he cometh up unto the people, he will invade them with his troops. Although the fig tree shall not blossom, neither shall fruit be in the vines, the labor of the olive shall fail, and the field shall yield no meat. The flock shall be cut off from the fold, and there shall be no herd in the stalls. Yet I will rejoice in the Lord. I will joy in the God of my salvation. The Lord God is my strength, and he will make my feet like hinds' feet, and he will make me to walk upon mine high places. To the chief singer on my stringed instruments. Awesome vision of Habakkuk.